Okay guys, welcome to this morning's Fife Property Show. This is all about unfurnished lettings. What features do tenants pay more rent for? Now, on this morning is Andrea, and you can probably see I'm in a completely different location. I'm in sunny Spain. It's like, wow, look at this right here. Look, I'll show you on the way. I'll show you what I'm looking at. That is where I am right now. And it is a beautiful day. And look, I've got a wee pal on the bottom there. I think he's just decided to join me. He tends to roam about the place, and then now and again he just speaks to people. But guys, this is all about unfurnished lettings. What features do tenants pay more rent for? I mean, the average. Did you know that the average first-time buyer has actually risen to 32-year-old now? And tenancies are lasting longer than ever, but not all national trends apply to lettings in Fife. But this one absolutely does. Does that surprise you, Andrea?
I think it does. I mean, having 4 children myself, you know, getting them onto the property ladder has taken a long time, and pretty much all of them have rented at some point before they got there. So, but the other thing with that is a lot of them are still staying at home, so it's difficult for the parents to get rid of the kids.
Yeah.
They're used to the home comforts.
Good morning, Angela. Hola. Yeah, but is it not becoming the sort of trend now that the younger generation? I'll take my glasses off actually because they're going dark. I can't emphasize the fact that they're going dark because of the sun. You know that I'm rubbing it in. So is it not the case that you tend to find that the younger generation now is becoming generation rent, and it's now become acceptable for them to rent, and it's probably because of flexibility of labour choices and where they want to stay as well, and their tenure, you know, the property they actually live in. I mean, you know, why would you buy a property, maybe a flat or something like that, or an apartment for 2 years only, if you know fine you're probably going to upgrade to a house, or you're going to move somewhere else later on? The cost to entry to buy the property, and then the cost to exit to sell the property, is probably prohibitive, rather than actually renting, isn't it?
Yeah, I think so. And more importantly, at the moment, people are living not just from week to week, but from day to day on what they can actually afford. So getting into a tenancy is a huge commitment. It's almost as big as buying a home now, because, you know, it takes up so much of your income.
But then the benefit of that is you can walk away anytime you want, can't you? You can do it for 20 days notice, and plus the fact that repairs and improvements and anything to do with the fabric of the building are actually passed on to the landlord, and the tenant actually doesn't need to look after that at all. So they've got no liability for fixing any of the fixtures and the heating system and everything like that.
No, that's true. Some of the larger things about living in properties, especially if it's a flatted property, are huge repair bills for things like roofs and walls, and you know, when you've got to make a huge contribution to it. Whereas if you're a tenant, you avoid all that. You might have a little bit of upheaval when the work's getting done, but you don't have the financial burden.
Yeah. So renting's no longer seen as a temporary measure. Tenants, including looking for a sense of permanence combined with more comfort. This means surrounding themselves with their own belongings in a well-presented and well-equipped home. Most of the people want to actually live with their own furniture, and the term unfurnished doesn't actually really mean unfurnished. It doesn't mean completely bare, does it? I mean, I've always taken unfurnished as possibly supplying white goods. You know, has that kind of been your impression as well?
Yeah, I always thought that at least they would have a cooker and somewhere that they could make a meal, wash up and store food as the main basics in a kitchen, and somewhere to wash their clothes.
But there is items of furniture which actually tenants would actually pay extra for. Longer lets at higher rents are every landlord's dream. So what we're going to talk about today, and here's some of the key things we're going to talk about today in the show. And you're more than welcome to ask any questions if you're watching and listening. And I know there's people watching and listening right now. I'm more than happy to listen and take your questions as well and answer them. It doesn't need to be about furnishings or unfurnished or anything like that. It could be anything to do with the rental market. We're here to help you and get you moved on and get you better educated and more information about what you need to do next. So some of the things that we're going to talk about today are what are the advantages of unfurnished lettings, what makes perfect unfurnished home, which kitchen appliances are essential and which are actually optional. A lot of people actually don't know that. Which bathroom fittings actually attract a higher rent. Would you believe actual certain bathroom fittings actually attract higher rents? Wow. It'd be interesting to know, and we'll talk about that, is how much outlay would you have to get how much extra in rent, because then you can actually equate that to one another to actually see the return on the outlay that you got. Probably a classic example of that is I remember I had a 2-bedroom flat, but the downstairs lounge was huge, and you could effectively subdivide it into a 3-bedroom and actually just create a bedroom off the back, like your typical ex-local authority flat. And it cost me at the time probably £700 to put the stud partition up and create another bedroom, but I actually got another £60 a month. So when you work that out, £60 a month over 12 months, there's £720. It cost me £750 to do. So the payback was 1 year. So the return was almost 100% on my investment straight away. So that made absolute sense, and that's the kind of thing I'm thinking about. The marginal improvements that you would make in order to make a higher return in what you're doing. And finally, do energy saving measures and luxury touches affect demand and income? So in short, all you need to know about what the tenants pay more rent for so that you can optimize the profitability and the popularity of your buy-to-let. I mean, that's the key things, isn't it? It's all about the income, the rent level, and then it's all about the occupancy rate. These are probably the two most important things to a landlord in order to make sure they can look after the tenancy, isn't it?
Yeah, I mean, talking about occupancy rate, I think, having looked at figures over the last few years, one of the main things is that affects the occupancy is having to get huge repairs and things done on properties and giving the turnaround.
Yeah.
That time it takes a landlord to get a team of workmen in to maybe redecorate, refloor, take out a bathroom that's maybe been damaged, kitchen, worktops, anything like that. So it can take a while.
Essentially, a lot of people are actually quite happy, just like you are yourself, to actually still continue to live in the property, pay rent for the property, and actually get the improvement done while you're at it.
Yeah.
There's no doubt about it. If I went to your tenant right now and said to them, I tell you what, how would you like a new kitchen? They wouldn't say, well, I'm going to have to go and live somewhere else. They'd go, absolutely. When can you do it? Because effectively you're getting a new kitchen. And as well, it's like, is there any particular colours you would like, or is there any scheme you would like, or is there any type of kitchen you would like, within reason, obviously. But that's the type of thing that people would actually want. And when you think about that as well, it's like, wait a minute, you're not even paying for it as a tenant. Actually, someone else is paying for that improvement. And kitchens nowadays probably start at £5,000 upwards, don't they?
Yeah. I'm just waiting on delivery of a new kitchen for my daughter's flat that she bought, and we're talking about £5,000, and that's with us doing the work ourselves. So, and we haven't got some of the white goods yet. So, but yeah, around about £5,000, and that's a small kitchen. And I think, if the work can be done while a tenant's in the property, it will make them appreciate more what they're actually getting, and they'll look after it more because they've had a part of the choice of it. Have you found that people will look after things that are better quality?
I think so. It's a typical example. If you go and rent something that's not up to standard, then what impression do you give the person actually looking to live in it straight away? It's like, if you don't care about it, then why should they care about it? That is really what it comes down to, isn't it?
Yeah, I mean, it's things like, like worktops that are all scratched and scorched marks on them, kitchen sink with dents, or, if it's a ceramic sink, got chips out of it. It will make the place feel dirty and unclean, and people will just not bother.
Yeah. Okay, so let's look at the benefits of unfurnished lettings then. This is the first subject we want to talk about. There are plenty of reasons why unfurnished homes are better for landlords and tenants alike. Take a look at our top 10. Here's our top 10 benefits. Which ones would make the biggest difference to you? Now, some of the top 10 ones here: spare yourself the time and expense of buying, repairing, or replacing items of furniture. For me, that's a big one, because that eats into your budget straight away. There used to be a case before, and this was 8 years ago when the legislation was different in terms of taxation, that you could get a 10% wear and tear allowance against top line rent for furnished properties. That was taken away, and you're allowed an instant deduction against your income now for any furnishings that you put in a property. However, how long are they going to last? How much is that going to depreciate? And then does that eat into what you're making? I mean, if you're putting in for example, if you're putting in a suite, and a suite's the best part of £800 to £1,000 now. So
Yeah.
if if it only lasts 5 years, then you're writing off £250, £200 to £250 a year. It's quite a lot of money. I mean, it doesn't sound a lot when you break it down into £20 a month, but then it's £20 off of maybe £100 that you're making after all your costs every single month. So that's 20% of your profit actually just taken because of one item of furniture, and that's only one item. So that's why, as a landlord now, I don't want to do furnished properties anymore. I avoid them completely as a result of that, because it's the return that you get for it. The other one is you use the savings to invest in upgrades to your property that improve the sale and the rental value. I mean, you got any other ones, Andrea?
Yeah, the main one, I think, and it's probably quite a bugbear of a lot of people, is sleeping on a mattress that someone else has slept on. If it says it all, even with a mattress protector on it, it's no. And people have their own likes and dislikes. They want a hard mattress, they want a soft mattress. And I think if you had to pander to everybody's needs and providing what it was that they actually wanted, you'd have a whole warehouse full of different mattresses that really...
Well, incidentally enough, that's what I used to keep. I used to have to keep a whole lot of stuff, because often a lot of people would actually, after me doing furnishings all the time, a lot of people would actually say, I tell you what, I just want it unfurnished. And it's like, whoa, wait a minute, where am I meant to put all this furniture? So I actually physically had to take all the furniture out and pay all the cost for taking them out, put them into Caledonian House in the back, which I stored them all, and then subsequently leave them there. So I have to pay the cost of storage. I have to pay the cost of depreciation, because they're still depreciating value, because they're sitting there doing nothing. And then I have to pay the cost of actually taking them out and then putting them back in for someone else that wants them. So it's a huge amount of costs. And plus the fact is also the need to keep up with the changing safety standards for fabrics and textiles. That's probably another key thing as well, you actually get avoiding as a result of doing unfurnished lettings. And also avoiding trying to appeal to the changing tastes and fashion. Your classic example is your beige. And not everybody wants beige anymore. They want a different colour scheme. So I provided a beige suite, but then they would go, but I'm wanting blue walls and blue carpets. That's not really going to go with my property or what I want. And you want people to feel at home, don't you?
Yeah. And was it Draylon by any chance?
I don't know. I genuinely can't remember, but there was often, you would have that. And then after a period of time, you found that everybody would use them differently. Therefore, they would get a bit more wear and tear on them than usual. And as a result, you're maybe 2 or 3 years in, and they weren't looking great.
No. And the loose covers, a lot of people would put a loose cover over it in their own colour scheme to get around a colour that they didn't really like. But no, they'll get a bit minging after a while.
Probably the other thing for me as well is, inventories. Saying goodbye to having an inventory now. We know we'll have condition reports now, which is the fabric of the building and the way it's decorated and the carpets and you know, stuff like that, and the way everything works in terms of, does the cooker work, does the windows open, are the doors chipped, or the carpets damaged, you know, anything, any slight blemish or anything like that is actually categorised in inventory reports and condition reports now. But it does say goodbye to that needless checking for broken crockery and missing cutlery and worn out towels and bedding. I mean, bedding actually wears out pretty quick if somebody's washing it continuously all the time. So, you know, again, it's eating into what you're making.
Yeah, I mean, using other people's stuff really just doesn't appeal to the majority of people.
Yeah.
Curtains and things you can live with for a little while, but it's always nice to have your own stuff around you.
Just say good morning. Good morning, Perry. Buenos dias. I'm not really sure. I've been here 18 years and I'm still trying to work out how to speak Spanish. The great thing is, to be honest, no one speaks a word of English really. It's very, very little, if anything. And that's what I love about the place so much, is the fact that it's so authentic where I am. And it's kind of like, for me, it's kind of like the East Nuke, but it's the weather's far superior. You know, it's 20 degrees all the time at minimum. And then, you know, come the summertime, it's 30 to 35 degrees. No, that I'm rubbing it in. And the fact that I'm going to the beach after this.
So it's about 10 degrees here today.
I think as well is that one of the benefits of Unfurnished is it makes your tenants feel more comfortable in their own surroundings.
Yeah. I think, you know, especially if there's children involved in the family that move into the property, you know, that's their home. So to have their own stuff around them, their own beds, their own chest of drawers, you know, the familiarity, you know, helps them settle into a new place.
Yeah. Reducing tenant changeovers is quite an important thing as well. And paying less for inventories, because, you know, and landlord's contents insurance. No need to actually do that anymore because you've not got any major contents. Most of the main things are actually covered by your actual buildings insurance. So most building insurance policies, for example, Alan Boswell covers £5,000 of contents as a standard practice of their buildings insurance cover. So you don't actually need to physically go and cover individual items because you're no longer furnishing a property really. So it covers things like carpets and curtains and, you know, maybe white goods that you'll supply. Most fixtures are covered under main things like integrated ovens and hobs, extractors, baths, toilets. They're all fixtures now classified and they're under buildings insurance. So that's probably another thing. You're paying less for your contents insurance. And you're finding it easier to decorate and renovate and repair between tenancies, ultimately because you've not got all the furniture lying about.
Yeah, it's really difficult trying to decorate and move furniture from wall to wall if you try to do it. Do you ask your tenants, sorry, my throat's going, do you ask your tenants to decorate back to the standard it was presented in when they got it before they leave?
Well, what the rule of thumb is we've got a condition report in the beginning, and if somebody wants to change any of the decoration, obviously we insist that you get somebody professional in to do it, but we do also insist that it's changed back to what it was originally or something similar, minus, you know, the typical wear and tear. So if they've been in there for 10 years, for example, we wouldn't expect them to have it pristine again because it's wear and tear over 10 years. So, you know, for example, carpets, 10 years will be gone, possibly even 5 or 6 years will be gone. But if they stay there 10 years, then it's probably a bonus to a degree, and the fact that they've still got the same carpets. But we would expect to change them and wouldn't actually charge the tenant for that because they've been in a considerable amount of time. That's all just part and parcel of the tenancy. So it's not the case. It's like, for example, a hire car where you insist that they've got to repair it back to what it was originally. And some hire companies actually insist you've got to do the whole thing again. So if you have a wee dent in the door, the whole thing has to get done from start to finish. They don't just take 50 quid off for the dent. They insist that the whole thing's done, which could cost hundreds, if not £1,000 or something like that. So it's give and take more or less, but there is rules and regulations anyway, set down by the safe deposit scheme, which is the custodial schemes by the approved by the government for and also in the first tier tribunal, which actually set down sort of guidelines about what is right and what is wrong. So that's the sort of things we follow as a result, and we're trained in all that anyway as part and parcel of our lettings qualifications. So Perry's asking quite a good question. Other than white goods, we were unfurnished. I think for me, it felt more at home with the things around us. Yeah, I would say that. And you want that. You want somebody that's in a tenancy to actually feel like it's their home and not just a house, because they'll be settled more and they'll stay there longer. As a result, therefore, you have a higher occupancy rate. You don't have changeovers, so you don't lose rent in between. You don't have any refurbs in between or any improvements you have to make in between. So you're saving money with that as well. And your rent will continue to get paid regardless, and you don't have to pay another letting agent to actually fill the property again, or you don't have to spend the time as well to fill the property again. So there's all the key advantages of actually looking after your tenant and making the tenancy longer. That's where for me all the profits made is looking after the tenant and having longer tenancies and actually, so it's not about getting the highest rent possible all the time. It's maybe just under it, but it's actually getting a longer tenancy, sustain longer. Therefore, you're filling all these voids. You're not costing any extra money to put more tenants in, and you're not actually having to do costs and changeovers. So there's huge bonuses to doing that. So it's not always about the highest rent.
Right, so the perfect blank canvas. To get the highest rent, think about creating a stylish, durable and neutral backdrop. Yeah. One that's ready to move into with minimal fuss and that works with anyone's furniture and style. So we've already talked about having fresh paintwork, but use high quality paint. It's washable.
Yeah, and are we still on the grey? Do you think grey is the paintwork still to go for, the grey and whites?
I don't know. Some people were never really into the grey and white.
Yeah.
I don't know if it's all magnolia now, but I think grey is potentially maybe on the way out for 2022. A lot of brighter colours and bold designs and things, but obviously for a rental property, that's maybe not the best route to go down. Just keep it simple.
For me, it tends to be the it's the feature wall now.
Yeah.
So and also what I've found is when we're going around properties now, it's the dark blue kitchens. We're going back to the I mean, I'm not saying we're going back to the 1970s, but the 1970s was that era where it was dark blue kitchens and it was maybe gold handles. And this generation obviously doesn't know that because they weren't around in the 1970s. So that's new to them, and that's fine. That's that. But I remember that, and it was actually quite stylish. And quite robust as well, because then if you get any nicks or anything like that, you don't actually notice them because of the fact it's so dark. And if you get the right lighting, which is great now, we've got the proper lighting now, you can actually your kitchen can actually look a lot better. Whereas before, these dark kitchens, because we didn't have LED lighting in that at that time, it did look really dark, and it made the kitchen look actually quite small. So coming back to what you were saying about fresh paintwork and washable emulsion is actually a big plus point, isn't it?
Yeah, it is. I mean, if you get your magic sponge, it takes off most scrapes and marks on the wall.
It's amazing. I used one of these on the hall. It's like, I can't believe that. But then it's like microfibers or something. Let's talk about flooring. Would you go for carpets or wood flooring?
If it was a ground floor apartment, I would probably go for wood flooring. Yeah. Upstairs, I'm a compassionate person. I would think about my neighbours and potential noise. So I would probably go for a carpet with really good underlay.
Yeah,
And
some of the conditions actually in some of the newer built properties insist that you're not actually allowed to put hardwood flooring in the upper floors, and it's because of antisocial behaviour, because the fact that you'll have people clopping back and forward, and it'll just aggravate the tenants below or the people below.
yeah, because I think, you may be in a property where your property's rented, but it's somebody that owns their property below. And, then they're really stuck with, if they've got a noisy neighbour that likes to go on the treadmill, or whatever, at 3 o'clock in the morning.
I've got to admit as well, though, hardwood flooring is actually more durable and it washes easier than actually carpets. So I think that's a big plus point for me out of that. I still think it's quite clinical and cold, though.
Yeah, but you can, people can put rugs and things down and also help.
Is that not defeating the purpose, though? I'm going to put a hardwood floor and then I'm going to put a carpet on top of it.
Well, not a big carpet, just a wee rug.
Yeah. I understand that. I'm just playing devil's advocate.
Some people like minimalist without soft furnishings because of allergies and things, and pets. A lot of people just don't have curtains or fabric in their properties. They'll have a leather suite, to minimise allergies.
Yeah. My biggest bugbear has got to be light bulbs. I'm amazed at the amount of properties I go round initially, and you walk into the rooms, you switch on the lights, and they maybe got 3 or 4 lights on one fitting, and maybe 2 of them's out.
Yeah.
And for me, again, it's like what you say, it sends that impression out to people that you're not really that bothered. So why should they be bothered? The fact that you've not actually, and the fact that you lose a lot of the light in the room because the fitting was there in the first place to make sure they actually got the light round the whole room itself. So it begins to look a bit dingy. So it tells you 2 things. It's dingy, and it also tells you, I'm not particularly bothered about this property. So why should you be bothered?
It's like switching the light on and then so it's like switching the light on and then saying, right, I'll come back in a week when it's warmed up.
Aye, that's the old-fashioned. Listen, as well, get rid of the old-fashioned lights. The energy saver bulbs. Chuck them out. Get rid of them now. If they take far too long, if you've got to wait to heat up to get natural light in the room, then you've got the wrong type of bulbs in, because you can get fantastic LED lights now. Are instant, and they give you a huge amount of natural light there, and it's instant for that, and it makes the room pop completely. It makes it nice and bright. If you get daylight lights, it's actually like the natural eye. You don't actually realise the light's on, but you actually think all the light's coming in from outside as a result. Therefore, it actually looks really bright in the house itself.
That's one of the advantages of when you're doing viewings with people, to actually get to the property first and put the lights on.
Yeah. And what about things like what would be your suggestion of things like, for example, let me think about it. Shelves. Do you think shelves is a good idea? Putting up shelves in a property?
I think with so many large furniture companies providing shelves that can sit on the floor, you don't actually need to be drilling into walls to be getting shelving storage.
Right. Okay. So provide freestanding if anybody's wanting storage.
Yeah.
So if you've got a wee alcove in a corner, the typical sort of, it's the size of a press, really. The where you could open and shut it, the door. But it's actually built out, and then the fireplace. You can, the typical example, the fireplace in the middle. You've got these 2 spaces either side. Maybe the suggestion would be, rather than actually fit shelves to the wall, actually just put freestanding shelf units in.
Yeah, I would. And any good joiner can, if the shelves are going to be too big, they can adjust something to fit the space exactly and make it look really good. One of the things you usually have to do with taller units is to fix a safety strap at the top of them, but then that's just one screw hole to stop children pulling them over on top of them.
Yep. There's many a time my wardrobe's fallen on me. When I was a wee boy, swinging for the doors, the whole wardrobe would come down with you, including all the suitcases on top of it.
I mean, I remember swinging on kitchen doors when I was a child, and my mum and dad going mad at me. I never thought anything about it. I would have killed mine if they'd done that with my kitchen.
Those were the days. I'm officially old. The good old days.
Probably one of the other things that contributed to swinging on things is giving you creaky and wobbly door handles. So you need to make sure that they're securely fitted and working properly, and that they actually look good on the cupboards and the doors. They're often opened at viewings and create an impression about the quality and the feel of a home. Mismatched door handles, or having one that's missing and a temporary one put in its place just doesn't give a very good look. So
even things like your kitchen cabinets, if they're just sagging a wee bit, the typical, and all you need to do is just open it up and adjust the hinges inside to actually get it to back up straight. It just and then if you leave it like that and it's loose, it then begins to get worse when people use it. Therefore, prevention is better than cure, isn't it?
Yeah, because especially for upper cabinets, if you open one and it's loose, it's going to fall down and hit you or someone else.
What's your thoughts on window blinds?
Everybody's got a different taste in those. I really like plantation shutters. I know they're expensive. But one of the remarkable things about plantation shutters is they still let in a huge amount of light. Yeah. And because if you get the white ones, they reflect the light as well into the room. They're also an added security feature as well, because you can lock them in the inside. So it makes it harder for people to break into your property. But anything that, Venetian blinds or, they can gather a lot of dust. Vertical blinds, the little bits along the bottom, they get, with the sun going on them, they get brittle. And, you've got a cat or a dog that goes up on it, or a child or whatever, and they just break and end up looking really tatty.
Well, there's a classic example as well. If you get the vertical blinds in their fabric, if you've got cats, I have got cats, and that's what happens, isn't it? They weave in and out of them, and eventually over a period of time, they actually get covered in dirt and fur and all the rest of it, and they're no easy to wash. And therefore, as a tenant, you could end up with liability for a cost that you actually didn't know about. And as a landlord, it's an additional cost as well if it's part and parcel of that. So you're probably right to a degree. I mean, the plantation shutters in the long run might actually be a good one for higher value, high-end properties. Yeah,
I think also for the safety aspect of blinds with cords and things, obviously you've got the liability there with children's safety, and that they have to be positioned it can only be a certain length, or they've got to be, tied to the wall. So it's
So we've done the perfect blank canvas, and we've also put another link in this post to an article for how to style your buy-to-let without using furniture in the beginning. So that's another good one to actually just read if you want. I mean, this article we're discussing just now is in here anyway, but on that article is another link to that article leading to how to style your property without using furniture. What do tenants want in a kitchen? What's the primary things that they would actually want then? I mean, is it good quality kitchens and appliances, and to achieve a noticeable uplift in the rental income? Is that the
I would say a chef and someone to wash up.
Is that called a husband? Or a partner?
Oh dear.
A manual dishwasher.
Well, I mean, a dishwasher. I mean, I grew up without a dishwasher. My first dishwasher I got was, I think I had 4 children under my belt by that time. So, and I've actually gone back to hand washing dishes.
Yeah, my mum's dishwashers was us. We had to take turns at doing the dishes. So I wouldn't. My sister got the short straw at the time, because it was almost like stereotypical that a woman would do things like that. Which now would be, I could understand. It's wait a minute, why is that just a woman's thing? But at that time, it was kind of an expectation.
Yeah, I mean, I think a lot of young millennials who are now coming into rented properties, their expectations are so high
Yeah.
for the things that must have, you know, and a dishwasher is one of them in the kitchen.
Yeah, for me, for even a smaller property, a slimline dishwasher possibly. You know, a 400 slimline dishwasher is probably essential. It took us a lot of years to actually get into that mode, but once we had a dishwasher, it was like, wow, we never want to wash dishes ever again.
Yeah, and they want these sprinkle taps, you know, with extendable hose and the
For
American
washing
style
your veg.
heaters. They want everything, you know, and they just don't realise that some people have to wait a long, long time to be able to get nice things like that. And there's nothing wrong with bog standard.
But then when if you're providing it, you know, as part of the rental, then there's an opportunity there, isn't there,
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
to actually get a better rent. And as I said, you know, for the sprinkle tap, actually you wash your veg in the colander. It is a big thing in people's minds about the quality of a kitchen, even not just that one fitting. Now, how much does it cost? I'll go back to saying that. How much would you invest in order to add that feature on? And then how much extra rent would you get as a result of that? And I think the payback would be a year. I think you'd have your money back
Uh-huh.
within a year, and you've still got the thing. And it just again, it gives that impression of quality as soon as you walk in, because it's not every kitchen that's got it.
No, that's true. You know, if you're happy to put stuff like that in your flats as a basic, then that's something that a tenant's going to be really lucky if they get it.
Yeah. So basics, not go for basic kitchen. Let's go for probably mid kitchen, mid level. Not really a high level, because that, you know, that could get damaged easily and then it costs a fortune to replace. Where mid is, you know, it's tolerable for both parties, but the tenant will love it as well. And it will last a bit longer than your basic kitchens. I tend to like ready built carcasses, because it's built by the manufacturer straight away. Whereas you don't know who's building your kitchen for you if it comes in flat pack, and if it's not built properly, in my opinion, there's kind of no warranties or comeback on that. So I like that they built in the first place. I kind of think once it's built, if you start taking it apart again and then trying to rebuild it again, it's just never going to be the same.
Yeah. And what do you think about integrated appliances as opposed to freestanding, if you're providing them?
I'm a big fan of every single kitchen I put in, to put in an oven, a hob, an extractor. It's standard every single time. I don't like the fact that there's a freestanding cooker there. I like the integrated oven. There's a unit it slots into. It's a standard appliance. It's a 600 unit. It's in housing unit. The hob as well is more or less standard size as well, and you can change one when you need it. So it's rather than having to buy a whole new cooker, because that's what a freestanding cooker would cost. Therefore, you can just change one or the other. And then the fact that you've got the extractor above it, it just gives, you know, it's just to get all the smells outside if you need it, or maybe just to get rid of some of the fat. So I'm a big fan of putting that in as a standard thing now. And then freestanding stuff, yeah, I'd probably agree with that. Freestanding after that, fridge, freezer in the corner, and then possibly a wash machine under the drainer of the sink. That's where I would normally put things. I tend to do in the apartments. I tend to do the L-shaped kitchen.
Yeah.
So where you've got the top bit, where you've got the sink, you've got the wash machine in the top right-hand corner. Just say the L shapes like this. So top right-hand corner, you've got the wash machine underneath the counter. You've got the drainer. You've got the sink. Then you've got the bit that comes down in the L shape. You've got the fridge freezer at the very end, the bottom. Freestanding fridge freezer. Then you come back to the center, you've got the oven, hob and extractor there, and then you've got plenty of activity space either side of that to work on. And then at the other side, you've not got that galley style kitchen, therefore you've got a lot of space at the other side. And you could possibly even get a wee breakfast table and chairs. That's where I think in terms of apartments, because it just means that you've got the option that you're not sitting with your tea on your lap every single time when you're watching the telly. You know, for me, I think sitting at a table is a good thing. It takes you away from that television environment. You know, from a point of view of health, it actually helps your digestion, because you're not watching the television while you're eating. So that's just my personal opinion. I like the fact that integrated appliances for me, oven hob extractor is standard now, and everything else can be actually freestanding.
Yeah, there's some amazing small space ideas for, especially for like small kitchens, small bathrooms. One of the ones that I saw for the kitchen, as I say, obviously my daughter's got a very small kitchen, and that is a fold down table.
Yeah.
From the wall. So when it's up on the wall, it's just like a notice board, but when you can fold it down and use it to sit and
It's a
eat
great
at.
idea. It's a fantastic idea. I would 100% agree with that. That's a brilliant idea for that. So install enough cupboards as well. You know, I tend to do
Yeah.
top and bottom if I can, even if it's a one or a two bedroom, because you never know at some point in time if you've got the option to go up into an extension and actually extend into up and into the roof space, you potentially got another 2 bedrooms and a bathroom upstairs.
Mm-hmm.
And that for me could be an option when prices tend to go higher and people can't afford to buy. Probably extending up is the better option to do that
Yeah.
for families.
So yeah, you can never have enough.
I definitely like that option.
Yeah, I think lack of storage space is the biggest bugbears in properties. So we'd always go to the max on that.
You've got to think about that as well. You've got to think about the number of bedrooms that you've got in a property and how many people are actually going to live in it to determine how big the kitchen should be and how much storage you should have. I mean, having a wee totty kitchen because it looks stylish and great isn't the great option for if you've got a 4-bedroom property. It's not an option at all. Effectively, you've just created a laundry and there's no kitchen at all. That's what I would be saying. So. Stainless steel as well. I'm a big fan of stainless steel. In order to keep that, a wee top tip is put some baby oil on a bit of kitchen roll and just give it a rub down. It takes all the staining out of stainless steel and just gives it that nice sheen and ping and glisten. It also gives you a nice smell when you walk into the kitchen as well. You know, you've not got that overpowering fat smell from some kitchens. You've got a nice smell when somebody walks in for the first time. Fit high quality work surfaces. I always go for 40mm worktops. I don't do 30mm. I don't know if they actually do 30mm anymore, but 40mm definitely. And then you've got the Trespa worktops, which are the indestructible now, which a lot of people are actually putting in now. Which and Trespa worktops are the worktops that they put in laboratories in the schools. You know, when they're doing experiments for chemicals and stuff like that. So they're almost indestructible. So they're really good worktops. Solid wood worktops, would that work well, or do you think it's a big upkeep?
I think it's a huge upkeep because you have to do them with, I can't remember what type of oil it is. My mum's got them, and they lose their sheen after a while unless you keep oiling them and polishing them. And then if the wet gets in, they start deteriorating. So they reckon you should only use a wood worktop with a sink that sits below it, so the worktop goes over the edge of the top of the sink.
Yeah, so Belfast sink sort of type.
Belfast, yeah.
Yeah. Okay, so if we're supplying freestanding goods, fridge, freezer, more than likely one on top of each other in the corner, which is my preferred option. Make sure you've got the freezer an adequate size for the size of family probably going to be staying in that property. If it's only a 1 or 2 bedroom, clearly the freezer could be a wee, a smaller unit, and the fridge could be the bigger unit at the bottom. In terms of wash machines, you now get standard wash machines. They're usually you need to go for a 7 kilo and 8 kilo at the very minimum now, because that's really what people want. Also, for energy efficiency, go for an A rating, obviously, but what to do is look for a high spin speed. 1400, 1600 is probably the options now. If you're getting 1,000 spin speed, you may as well not bother buying it anymore. It's a waste of time. It'll never dry anything. So as much water as you can get out of it saves the tenant costs and drying, because then and it also saves your house, because if they don't dry effectively and it's winter and they can't put them out to dry because they don't have a tumble dryer, guess where it goes? They go in the radiators. And then your house starts to get damp as a result of that because there's no ventilation, and so it's a false economy. So just with getting a high spin speed washing machine actually could save you a fortune in terms of additional costs later on or problems later on, because you've not actually invested in the right equipment. And it doesn't cost much. It's only a couple £100 still to buy a washing machine.
If it was a property that didn't have outside space, Jim, would you ensure that the machine was combined? Yeah.
Yeah, definitely washer dryer. I've got and some of my apartments don't have outside space at all, so I put washer dryers in all the time. I do not want people drying things on radiators and that. If there's an option, you could put a pulley in. If there's a separate laundry, and you could have that in the above in the laundry itself, right across. You could have a 4 foot or 3 foot pulley, and sometimes a 6 foot if it's big enough. And we have that ourselves. Great option for drying, because when the radiator's on, all the heat's going to go at the top anyway, and therefore it's going to dry quicker. What about bathrooms? About how to boost them? What would be your thoughts on this?
My main thought on this actually is when a lot of people have been buying property and renovating it, either for to live in or buy to let, they're actually taking the baths out and replacing them with sort of the trendy walk-in double shower.
Yeah.
I'm not sure that that's a great idea if the property is going to have children in it.
Yeah, but then how do you bath a child when they're a newborn?
No bath, I know. And they've got these tiny little kitchen sinks. They're not even big enough now to bath a kid in.
Yeah. That takes me back to the days. Bath in the kitchen sink.
Photos will be on the website later.
But do you notice a lot of showers now are actually, they've got the matte black look?
Yeah.
I'm kind of thinking, how long is that going to last? Because to be honest, I think that's just a trend.
Yeah, I'm not keen on black walls and things. One thing that I would say is if you're replacing an electric shower, is not go for the white finish. Go for like their stainless steel look, or maybe black, because the white yellows and it looks awful. And even if you don't have smokers in your house, they always look as if there's been a smoker in the house.
It does, eh? I've got that on my shower. My shower base and everything is pure white, and the facing that goes along the bottom of it is actually yellow now. Mm-hmm. And it looks completely different colour, and it does look horrible. And you'll not be able to get a replacement for it because it's quite a unique one. It's got this, it's the curvature on it, so you won't get that part anymore. So you've just got to live with it, whether you like it or not. So I'm a big fan of stainless. Again, I'm coming back to the stainless steel look, the chrome look. I'm a big fan of chrome and stainless steel because it's easily manageable, it's easily kept, and it really doesn't go out of date. It's not a fashion statement, but it's actually timeless.
Yeah, I was going to say that it's timeless. And if you look after it, don't just get out the shower and, rush away to work. Take the time to go around the actual shower fitting and dry it, because water lingering on it will make it deteriorate a lot quicker. So dry off the fittings and it'll.
What about brushed steel? Brushed steel look.
Brushed steel again. I don't know. I'm happy as long as I've got a tap that works. So I'm quite easy to please. I'm not sure whether that would be it's more expensive fittings. A deal breaker.
For some people, it's, when you think about it, you could have a standard bath, but you could put really good quality taps on it, and it just looks the part. So that's kind of where I'm coming from. It's not a huge expense to do it, but it just makes it look really good. It's like just having all the additional things that you put in a house when you furnish it. Just the throws and the Perry would love this. She'll be watching the throws and the wee added extras and all the wee things that just make that fundamental difference into making the house look wow. When you walk in the door for the first time, and it feels like a home rather than a house. That's effectively. We give people a house and they make it a home. That's really what it comes down to.
Yeah, I think when I did an ensuite in my own home, and the main thing that I wanted in it was a rainfall shower head and the combo, and I got that, and it's great. But one of the other things that I wanted was the fitted furniture.
Yeah.
With the enclosed cistern and the basin that sits on top of the unit.
Yeah, the vanity units and stuff like that. And then what I love as well is if you are putting a new shower in, is put the controls at the start of the shower rather than actually in the shower.
Yeah, I wish I'd thought of that.
All right.
It's off every time I go to switch it on.
To be honest, I never ever actually thought about it, but it's only when I started seeing people's houses and I went, that's a great idea. Why
Yeah.
did no one else think about this years ago? Why do we need to run into a shower and switch it on and get, sprinkle with water in order to wait for it to heat up and then adjust it before we actually walk into it again and back and forward and back and forward? Getting our feet wet at the same time and having to come back out and come back in and risking slipping. So I think it's a great idea to do that. So if you actually are putting a shower in, then think about that as well. Tile floors, splashbacks, what's your thoughts? Or wet walls?
Wet walls, certainly, it's quite durable. You do get cheaper alternatives that are made out of a polycarbonate rather than your solid MDF. So maybe slightly more easily to get damaged, but easily replaceable and much quicker than tiling.
Yeah.
Tiled floors, yes, maybe if they've got underfloor heating is a good idea, but make sure that they're of a durability, that they're not going to get damaged too easily, because once they're down, they're down.
You've got to think about who it's going to be for, isn't it? I mean, if it's just a professional couple, then you tend to think, okay, we can do high quality tile floors. But if it's going to be for a family that's continuously going to be in there and going to have young children, there's potential that they could drop something on the tiles. And if you don't have replacement tiles, that's your goose. You've got big cracks in your tiles. So again, that's another thing you've got to think about. But you get really good quality tiles and really good looking tiles now that just make the bathroom look absolutely beautiful.
Yeah, you get the high quality. I can't remember what they call it now. I put it in my ensuite. It costs an absolute fortune. It's like a laminate, but it's a tile.
Yeah.
It's not made of wood. It's got a bit more flexibility to it. Now the brain, I've got COVID brain at the moment. I can't remember what stuff was called, but that's really good, and it's so warm under the feet. But then again, it's expensive to buy. The underlay is almost as expensive as the tiles, and you have to use the right stuff. But it's so good.
Yeah. What about things like fitting bathroom cabinets? Do you think it's essential? Or do you think you should think about maybe where people can put their stuff first? The one thing for me is a lot of people put them straight to the window ledge, and then when they go away, they've got big marks in the window ledges.
Yeah, but if there's room, I would say put some kind of floor standing portable cabinet.
Again,
you get some of them that are really good. Got a mirror on one side and turn it round, it pivots round, and it's got storage on the rear side. So if there's room for that, I would do something like that.
Yeah, behind the door or something like that. That's a really good, effective solution, isn't it? And again, it's a nice feature. Ventilation is probably essential for bathrooms as well, I would say. So even if there's a window in the bathroom, make sure there's an extractor fan for moisture as well. So your condensation really doesn't turn into mold. There is a case, the extractor fan's too low as well, that the condensation could actually hit the roof. And if you've not actually done, this is the key here as well. You need to do, if you're not putting a polycarbonate roof in, or something like that, it's easily wipeable, then make sure you do vinyl silk on your ceiling and not matte, vinyl matte, because vinyl matte will just attract the mold, and then you'll have a problem. And everybody will think it's damp when in actual fact it's not. It's just condensation.
Yeah, I've seen that a lot in some of the houses, and everybody's, when surveyors and that go around, and they'll say, "Oh, it's damp." They say, "No, it's not. It's just condensation." But a little bit of education with the people, with the tenants, can go a long way to solving that.
So what about eco extras and little luxuries? What extra things can you do? What type of things can we do?
You can put valves, pressure valves on taps, so it actually reduces the amount of water, but still gives you the same pressure.
These shower heads, you seen that one with the wee balls in them? It's like, wow, I could not believe that. And that's like 15 quid. And you put a different shower head on, and it uses less water, but the pressure goes right up. And it's like, instead of sitting in a drizzle, you've actually got a proper shower.
Yeah, and it's quite invigorating as well to have a shower that's got a decent pressure behind it. One thing that I would say is that with the eco thing in mind, maybe making places really nice for people to be in isn't helping their economy because they stay in the shower far too long. So I would say get a tap that turns cold after 4 minutes.
I mean, it's extra comforting and convenience. It just makes that aspirational a bit more and a bit more quality to the actual property itself. You're exact. I mean, we talked about brush steel and powder coated metal, and even brush steel and powder coated metal power sockets and light switches around your house. Just gives a wee bit of difference. I've actually just bought another one, and it had brass all the way through. And the first thing I says to him, I says, "I'm not caring what you change it to. Just get rid of all the brass fittings and all the light switches." It's so antiquated the way that looks. Wired in multi-audio speakers for high quality properties now. You know, broadband installed as well.
I would think broadband.
Yeah,
definitely broadband. I think that's almost a necessity these days.
Yeah, it must be. I mean, if you want high quality tenants who want to work from home, because that's probably the requirement now, then you need to make sure you've got hardwired. I mean, I've got it here. I've just had it installed here in Spain, and I'm on 600 megabyte now. So I was quite surprised for 30 euros, and that was a really good deal. A lot more cost effective than what it had cost me back home for Virgin. So I could not believe it. So I'm actually streaming on 600 just now. Quite easily where I am. So I've just had that installed. Mood lighting under kitchen walls, you know, kitchen cabinets and stuff like that, you know, and behind bathroom mirrors. That's a big thing, isn't it?
It is nice. And I've also seen some people will get lighting built into just behind the top of cornicing.
Yeah. Big thing for me, a heated mirror. And you can buy them. You can buy them quite easily for about 40 or 50 quid. Stick them on a wall, heated mirror. There's nothing better than no having to come out of the shower and having to sit and wipe that down, and then it goes condensation again. And then you just switch your heated mirror on with your wee sensor, and it's job done.
I prefer not to see myself when I've just come out the shower. I'll let the mirror stay steamed up.
So that's one of the plus points for me. It's like what you said about energy, you know, flow saving, water saving, solar power, indoor lighting, to the garden as well, to the balcony as well. That's another one. Integrated slide out bins in the kitchen.
Yeah, if there's enough
space. Big fan, no big fan. I'm not really sure. The jury's out. You have to get the right type of units to do it, because some of them are absolutely horrible and they're just not practical at all. They just don't work. But if you get the right things with the right compartments, it works really, really well, doesn't it?
Yeah, if you've got no outside space, then something like that would be very handy, providing the kitchen has the space to accommodate it. I would rather have a cupboard that I could put other things in than rubbish.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. Okay, so we've put more information. There's another article that we actually put in this post as well, and this goes to the Eco Landlord Guide to sustaining your profitable buy-to-let success. So that's in this post as well. And you click on the link, it's in this post, it will take you through. If you scroll down into that article, you will actually be able to go through that one as well. So there's lots and lots of information on this show today, and information that you can actually glean. Again, as I keep saying to people, this is information that other people will train people in, and they'll charge them thousands to do it. And we give this away for free every single time. So if you get a chance, you know, look at these articles. If you get good information out of it, please give us feedback. If you've had a success and if something's happened and it's done well for you as a result of what we've taught you or what you've told you about, then please feel free to feed that back to us. We'd love to hear from you. Final thoughts on this, Andrea, before we wrap up, because I'm desperate to get to the beach.
I think the main thing would be that if you're buying a property to let out and you want any expert advice, come and speak to us. We're always here to give out advice. We've got loads of stuff on websites, and we'd be happy to manage your property as well for you.
Yeah, absolutely. Fantastic. Thanks. That's great advice, actually. I mean, next steps for most people is if you want to turn your buy-to-let into a market-leading rental home, we'll love showing you all these things. We're more than happy to give you a walkthrough and talk to you about the latest ideas and what you can do to add value to what you're doing in terms of maximising your returns. And guys, that's us. Watch out for tomorrow's update, which I'll be doing the weekly update tomorrow night on the Fife property market, tomorrow night at 7 o'clock. And then also on Monday, Richard will be doing the wealth creation show at 12:30. He'll be talking about buy-to-let profitable improvements that you can do to maximize your returns as well. And until next time, guys, it's bye-bye from her.
Goodbye from
Bye-bye just now.
Bye.